An announcement to make. All right, are you ready for this? I am 61 years old, and I know that Santa is real. I'm coming out tonight. This is United Church of Christ. You can do that here. I'm 61 years old, and I know Santa is real. And you know why I know Santa is real? You know why I know Santa is real? Because last week I saw on the news a story where a 6-year-old boy came to go see Santa. And the little boy's name is Matthew. And so just as Matthew was going to go and see and speak with Santa, the boy's mother whispered to Santa, "This is Matthew. He's 6 years old. He was born blind and he's autistic." And Santa said, "Say no more." So Santa got up out of his big Santa chair, and Santa sat on the floor and had Matthew come over to him. And Santa let Matthew touch his furry red hat. Santa let Matthew touch his red velvet suit. Santa even let Matthew grab a hold of his beard and tug on it. And Matthew and Santa then engaged in conversation, and Santa answered Matthew's questions about elves and about reindeer and about how he goes about Christmas Eve delivering toys. And then, toward the end of it all, Santa looked at Matthew and said, "Matthew, do you want to feel anything else?" And Matthew said, "Yes, I want to touch your twinkling eyes." You see, Matthew was familiar with that Night Before Christmas poem. His mother read it to him every year, and so this blind boy wanted to experience the twinkling eyes of Santa. And so there's a lovely photograph of Santa holding his hands and let Matthew just explore all around his eyes, all that Matthew wanted to. You see, Santa is real. Santa is real because Matthew experienced it. I experienced it. You've now experienced it, and because it's gone viral, people all around the world have experienced. Santa is real because Santa does what Santa does. Tomorrow, December 25th, we celebrate the birth of Jesus. Now, here's the reality. We don't know that he was actually born on December the 25th. In fact, we have no idea what day he was born on. So why do we then have his birthday on December 25th? Well, it was something that the early church established. And why did they do it now? Winter solstice. This is a time on our calendar, on the northern hemisphere anyway, where there are more hours of darkness than there are light. So in this time of great darkness, a light came to the world, and we celebrate that light with Jesus. And he came to the world with the light of love and hope and peace and faith. Now, I believe in Jesus very much in the same way that I believe in Santa. How do I know that Jesus is real? It's because I experience him. I see him. I see him in any selfless act of kindness. I see Christ there. You see? When someone goes out of their way to do something for another human being, it can be profound, it can be simple. There is the essence of that light and that love, you see? It's not something we just feel, but we can see it. If you're looking around, you can see it. William Blake once said, "As a man is, so he sees." So the reality is oftentimes what we see, not only physically, but intuitively, and what we feel and what meaning we attach to things defines the world in which we live. So what is it that you see? I saw Santa, and I see Jesus. I see Jesus all the time. All the time. In all kinds of wonderful acts of kindness. I see Jesus when I see parents who sacrifice so much to make sure that their child or their children have the best Christmas ever, or the best birthday ever, or the best schooling ever, or the best opportunity. I see parents work so hard and sacrifice so much so that child has the best opportunity to make a life in this world. You see? That is that same spirit, that's that same essence of that light which has come into this world. That where our heavenly parent gives all so that we can do the best we can. I see Jesus whenever someone in our church finds themselves alone at home and sick, and they don't have the ability to go buy groceries or to prepare their food. And then I see and watch a whole community of faith make sure that not only is there more food in that house than this person needs, but they do more than just drop the food off. They make sure this person's not lonely either, and they spend time visiting and talking. You see, that's the same thing. That's that love. That's that light of hope. That's that act of selflessness which makes God very real in that moment in time. Or how about when you find yourself at the end of a day and your shoulders and your neck just feel like they're pine nuts, right? You're just carrying the burden of the world upon you. There are Bible stories that says that Jesus went about in the world and he touched people with his hands. And by touching them with his hands, he brought healing to their body. So just recall that time where you had that kind of stress on your shoulders and you were just feeling so burdened, and a good friend or a spouse or a partner comes up behind you and just starts massaging your shoulders, massaging your neck, and then all of a sudden you start feeling all of that burden fall away. Or how about you're a person who feels overwhelmed by the impending results of a biopsy, and your wife or your husband allows you to lay your head in their lap, and they gently caress your hair and your head, so that by doing this wonderful, simple act of kindness, all the worry starts to slip away. You see, that's when the reality of the realm of God, that's the reality when the peace of Christ, that's the reality when unconditional love makes us one with eternity. And that moment in time, it's all right there. It's all right there. We have a person in our congregation who's a physical therapist. And she does much more than just help a person's joints and muscles work again. But it's her healing touch. She's very conscious of her healing touch. She also spends time talking to the person and being in a relationship with the person. It becomes a whole experience, you see. And for that moment in time, God is real because you can see it and you can feel it and you can experience it. I know that there is a Jesus because I have seen him and I have felt him all around me in my life and within myself. The human experience is not an easy one. It's not. It's a tough gig. It really is. It's much harder for some than it is for others. But what I find so beautiful about the world in which we live, and if you find yourself lame, where you're having trouble walking, it's so beautiful to see people all around you who help you get back on your feet and help you to rediscover your stride. Whenever life has become so hard and just handed us too much and we feel like we're broken, our mind, our spirit, our soul just feels broken. It's a miraculous thing to see the light of hope and love enter into time and space. And in that period of that person's darkness, you see people who come around to help them to rebuild and make themselves whole again, you see. It's real. It's real because if we look, we can see it. It's real because if we're present in time and space, we can feel it and know that it's true. Jesus taught us that God's realm, God's kingdom, God's heaven, God is a participatory experience. This was something that was different in the first century when he came and did what he did. Most people were waiting for God to send something down, some miraculous intervention into time and space. But God doesn't seem to do it that way. God comes to us through one another. And whenever you and I embrace that same essence, that same spirit of Christ, when we embrace that same kind of spirit of unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, unconditional bringing someone in, when we do that, we become a part of that light of the world. It's not something that we just experience, but just something that we do as well. So, every time you and I engage in an act of selfless kindness, we make the reality of the light came into the darkness and into the world real. Every time we humble ourselves and we receive an act of kindness, then we experience once again the light came in the darkness and brought healing to this world. As William Blake says, as a man is, so is what he sees. Matthew, the blind autistic boy, could see Santa's twinkling eyes with his hands because Santa had the spirit to allow that to happen. You and I can know and experience the twinkling eyes of the Christ child, the twinkling eyes of the divine, the incredible love and peace of the divine when we choose to engage and touch it, be touched by it, and feel it. As a man is, so he sees. What is it that you see? When you go about living your lives, what is it that you're seeing? What has become real for you? For me tonight, in this moment in time and space, Santa and Jesus are real. Merry Christmas, and God bless you, everyone. Thank you. So now we're going to do the conclusion.